Good morning, everyone. This is the very first MarketWise Daily. Lots of people have asked for my opinions as to what I do in the morning, and so I figured I'd create a video channel to walk you through what I do each and every morning. So this is a quick summary of all the things that I check every single morning. From economic news as to what's the major calendar look like, news of the day, what's hot, what's not, trying to get a heartbeat of particular industries. And then most importantly, I go through the market levels and who's in control, what's up, what's down, overbought, oversold, etc. And then check on a variety of things, what I call big money. Where are the money going into the ETFs for either hedges or for bets? And then what earnings are available, what analyst calls were made yesterday or this morning, and then did any insiders buy or sell particular stock, and are there any crazy stocks going on in the morning? So let's get right into it. First is the economic calendar, and we start out with a doozy here with non-farm payrolls. It's coming up at 8:30, and we shall see the big movers are the average hourly earnings, as well as the unemployment rate, non-farm payrolls. So those are the three that we shall see some dramatic moves over the course of this early morning trading. As far as news of the day, it's really focused around that non-farm payrolls. There are other things that have come about. BYD is making some inroads on Tesla, so we should see potential pressure in the Tesla stock. But also commodities have started to move. And what does that mean? So obviously you have to watch the 10-year as to the impact of the yield in relation to our market. But pre-markets are relatively flat getting in. The NASDAQ has taken the biggest heat so far. When we go to market levels, which is really where I find the most value, is go to a morning check. So this is the SPX or the March contract, and what's important here is the levels. And so right now this 47.36 level is the most critical level from who's in control. And as we sit here at 7:48 Eastern Time, we are at 47.17, which is below that 47.36 level. The key levels from a daily perspective, which is what we always start with, is the 47.36, and then we have a fair amount of drop unless we get caught in the 34.50 moving average support. We're going down to 44.91. On a 240 level or 4-hour perspective, we do have some potential resistance here, support here at the 180-200 moving average, and the MACD is now starting to get outside its typical moving average. As you can see back here, when it starts to get out, there is a potential for a solid move in the reverse. On a 60-minute level, we are well in control from a particular sell-off. And on a 10-minute, which is where we check kind of the pivots, it bounced right off the pivot. And we are just sort of waiting for the non-farm payrolls. When we come back and we take a look at overbought, oversold by industry, or sector, I should say, we take the riskiest, from my perspective, and we work backwards. So to the most stable. As you can see down here, we are at 1 standard deviation outside the MACD. This is with a good number. We have a 171 level for support, which if we get a halfway decent number, then we could see a nice bounce in the consumer discretionary. So I would be looking for the Amazons of the world, the Facebooks of the world to potentially have a nice bounce. On the let's go down to technology, and from a technology perspective, a model triggered and is obviously in a losing position right at the moment, but we are now at a RSI that's oversold. We are at a MACD that's was 3 standard deviations below its norm, and clearly the sell-off this week has caused a dramatic move. Now we are in a little bit of gray zone, so we could push all the way down here and then we potentially have a gap. However, there is a congestion and a lot of volume that has been put in place in that particular area. So we move on to the more industrial side of the equation, which is XLI. XLI is, I have been short since it hit roughly there. And we are coming into some support, which is top there. As you see, comes back to the July high. And we will have some, we are oversold in that regard as well. So we have a potential for a good rally if the numbers come in where we want. From a materials perspective, materials appears to be nothing, just kind of a standard pullback. We are not at any extreme just yet. So you could easily see some more movement down, depending on, this is kind of the home builders pressure, down into the 83, 84 level. On a risk adverse, you can see the movement that people have pushed into healthcare, and healthcare is now gotten into the overbought territory, but the RSI is not necessarily overbought as well. So as you can see, the condensed, when MACD is condensed, it has the ability for larger moves, and hence why we saw some tightening here and then the bust up. I would not be necessarily adding to healthcare right at the moment. I'd be waiting for a potential pullback to the 136. It is a potential short right at the moment. From a financial perspective, we are just trucking along, and with earnings next week, we will start to see some activity. We have had some good opportunities for some very short-term shorts, as it hits 2 standard deviations, which is about the spot where you want to start thinking about it. So we are in a consolidation mode right off of the 3450 moving averages. We have the potential again to break out. And then last but not least, real estate. Real estate is relatively benign. It's coming back to test that breakout, which I believe was the Fed discussion. It has been a lot of consolidation, and there is a strong possibility of a move above or below. So I would be thinking about a short at 39.21, or if it can break its moving average up into the 40 level, then we may get a solid run. And that's it for the sectors. So let's go back to kind of a little bit more macro, in which we will look at big money, earnings, analyst calls, insiders, and moving morning movers. So one thing that we look at first is where the option activity is from yesterday. And so when we look at ETFs, we look at it from a perspective of what are people doing? Are they significantly trying to hedge or put a bet on the major indexes? And as you see if you just look at this particular area and the time frame, you're looking at the SPY at 55 on a put flow, Qs at 60, IDM at 80. So there is substantial movement on the bearish side for some bearish continuance, even the put flow into the triple Qs. And then you also see some commodities, GDX for the gold and silver, having nothing. So you start to say, hey, are people still continuing? We also like to look at the real-time option flow and this heat score. And what you see is that some serious algorithmic or is favoring more on the short side. So we are getting oversold. However, there is some pressure that is at the index level. Next up that we typically go to is any particular unusual activity in particular stocks, just to get a little flavor as to, is there going to be anything that's quite moving. So as you see, QuantumScape, there was a lot of activity in QuantumScape yesterday, and DYN. The Palantir has my interest because it is a cult stock, and we'll take a peek at that on the daily plan to see if we have any activity there. APA is just had bought a company, so people are thinking that it's a relatively good company. Not exactly some crazy amount of premium. However, it is a bet that we could have a nice solid bounce at 16% out of the money. Moving on to earnings. Earnings this morning is Constellation Brands, Greenbrier, and Notori. We'll take a peek at those just to see what the reaction is in the daily plan. From a analyst calls, there are this isn't our best analyst look, in part because it doesn't get necessarily the activity from this morning, but I like to do is quickly scan through analyst performance. Are they any good? And then a market cap of a particular 20 billion or over, and get a general flavor as to who is in play here. So we have a bunch of holds that typically, in my view, holds are bad, and that there should be some pressure. So we have some significant downgrades of these stocks. PayPal is interesting and has been beaten up. I also like to see something like this, where we have a 11% downside and a clear directional play of URI or United Rentals. So United Rentals, Carter's, Raytheon are all going to be on my short list, and I will start to look at a little bit of Dun & Bradstreet. That is a significant upside that's projected for Dun & Bradstreet, as well as Okta, which had a hold yesterday. Oh, this is a hold again. And Ralph Lauren. So Dun & Bradstreet and Ralph Lauren will be on the focus list for going forward for today. Just a quick check on insider buying or selling. I only look at informative, not uninformative, which is typically a planned sell or buy. And then I sort by value. And so we have PSX. He is not ranked, so this may be one of his first sells, but he's sold a fair amount. Adobe, which she sold a fair amount, and Novanta and Viking Therapeutics. So those are ones that I would have some particular interest to take a further peek. Sentiment, as to new sentiment, positive, negative, it's a nice look as to where we may have some activity. So as I mentioned earlier, BYD has some clear positive sentiment, and it obviously dovetails with what Elon Musk has said about them in Tesla. Other things about CVS and Humira, an IBD drug, and CVS has taken a beating, and that is a possible 2024 candidate. This is sort of typical. We don't have a lot of negative news. We have roughly positive news. And so it's just to get a flavor as to where we are. Pre-market movers are typically some high flyers that I don't necessarily dabble in, but there are clearly people that like to day trade in that space. All right, so that's it for earnings, analyst calls, insiders, and morning movers. Quick summary, just to understand where we are. I think that it is very important from a perspective of the morning check. So the two major plays that we have to make sure about are the 47.36 level and above and below. I think we have a bear control from that 47.36, and we have a bull control above the 47.36 level in the continuous contract. And that's it for now. Hope you enjoy it. Take care.